Snow fell. A thick blanket of white covered the road, muffling all sounds and creating an eerie silence. The old iron bridge groaned under the weight of the snow. It was a spooky sight, almost as if the bridge itself was alive and suffering.
Are you sure this is the way? Emily's voice cut through the silence, filled with doubt and fear.
Emily asked, her voice trembling. She could feel the weight of the bridge's history pressing down on her.
It's creepy. The words barely escaped her lips, as if the bridge itself was swallowing her voice.
Josh said from the back seat, his eyes fixed on the ominous structure ahead.
Don't be silly, it's just an old bridge. He tried to sound confident, but his voice wavered.
He was wrong. The bridge was more than just old iron and wood. It was much more than that. It was a place of darkness and fear, a gateway to the unknown, where shadows danced and whispered secrets of the past. As they drove onto the bridge, the engine sputtered, the car lurched to a stop.
Great, now what?
Silence hung in the air, then they heard it, a whisper.
Did you hear that?
Emily whispered, her eyes wide with fear. The whisper came again, louder this time.
Who said that?
The wind howled around them. It seemed to carry the voice. A figure emerged from the swirling snow, its form barely visible through the thick, icy veil. The wind howled, carrying with it an eerie sense of foreboding. It was tall and skeletal, draped in a tattered coat that flapped in the wind like the wings of a giant ghostly bird. The coat seemed to be from another era, worn and frayed. Its eyes glowed an eerie red, piercing through the darkness like twin embers of a dying fire. They seemed to see right through you, into your very soul. The figure drifted towards the car, moving with an unnatural grace as if it were gliding on air. The snow parted around it, leaving a trail of untouched ground in its wake.
You have to pay the toll.
The figure rasped. Its voice was hollow and cold, like the whisper of the wind through a graveyard. It sent shivers down their spines.
Who are you?
Max stammered, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. His knuckles were white, gripping the wheel as if it were his lifeline.
The Tollkeeper, and the price of the toll is your lives. The words hung in the air, heavy and final.
Emily gasped, her eyes wide with terror. Josh sank lower in his seat, trying to make himself as small as possible, as if that could protect him. The figure reached out a bony hand towards the car, its fingers like the claws of a bird of prey, ready to snatch them away.
No!
Max's voice was a desperate cry, filled with fear and defiance.
Max shouted, throwing the car into gear. The engine roared to life, a sound that seemed almost defiant against the eerie silence of the night. The car lurched forward, tires spinning on the icy ground as they tried to escape the clutches of the Tollkeeper. Max slammed his foot on the accelerator, his heart pounding in his chest. The engine roared to life and the car shot forward with a jolt. The car lurched forward, tires spinning on the slick snow, struggling to gain traction. The landscape around them was a blur of white, the snowstorm intensifying. They raced across the bridge, desperate to escape the ghostly figure that seemed to glide effortlessly behind them. The bridge creaked under the weight of the car, adding to their growing fear. But the figure remained, its eyes fixed on them, glowing with an otherworldly light. It was as if the very air around it was charged with a malevolent energy. Its laughter echoed behind them, a chilling sound that seemed to pierce through the howling wind and the noise of the car's engine. It was a sound that would haunt them forever. They thought they had outrun the curse, that they had left the terror behind on that old bridge. But they were wrong. The curse had latched onto them, an invisible chain that they could not break. The friends were never the same. The fear had changed them, etched lines of worry and dread into their faces. They spoke less, their laughter a distant memory. They were haunted by nightmares, visions of the ghostly figure invading their sleep. Every night, they relived the terror, waking up in cold sweats, hearts racing. They heard whispers in the wind, voices that seemed to call their names, reminding them of the night they tried to escape. The whispers were a constant reminder of their encounter. The Tollkeeper had claimed a part of them that night, a piece of their souls that they would never get back. The figure was more than a ghost, it was a harbinger of doom. And the legend of the haunted bridge lived on, a chilling reminder of the price of the toll. It was a story passed down through generations, a warning to all who dared to cross.